The take Anthropic just did something almost unprecedented in the AI industry. They built a model so capable they decided not to release it publicly. Claude Mythos Preview, unveiled in early April 2026 under the banner of Project Glasswing, can autonomously discover zero-day vulnerabilities across every major operating system and web browser, thousands of them, in weeks. It surpasses all but the most skilled human security researchers at identifying and critically exploiting software flaws. The model is not for sale. It is not on any public API. Instead, Anthropic assembled a coalition of the world's most recognizable technology companies: Microsoft, Apple, Google, Nvidia, JP Morgan Chase, and Amazon Web Services, and handed them over $100 million in usage credits to patch the holes Mythos finds before malicious actors can exploit them. A clean story, a compelling story, a story that is already unraveling at the edges. Within days of the restricted launch, an unauthorized group had gained access to the model anyway. The breach came via compromised contractor credentials from a third-party vendor, combined with URL inferences gleaned from a separate data breach at Mercor, an AI training data provider. The group made an educated guess about the model's online location and got in. At the time the breach was discovered, over 99% of the vulnerabilities Mythos had identified remained unpatched. This is not a story about one breach. It is a story about what happens when governance lags capability, when the most powerful tools in history are deployed under frameworks designed for the tools of the last decade. There is sharp marketing intelligence embedded in Project Glasswing. Anthropic did not quietly hand access to governments or regulators. They partnered with the companies whose logos carry the most brand trust in the world. They set $100 million on the table. They framed the initiative as securing critical software for the AI era. Every major outlet led with the cybersecurity angle. The narrative was controlled, at least initially, but narrative control and governance are not the same thing. Critics were quick to point this out. Tech Policy Press noted that this coalition of companies is attempting to solve a technical problem in isolation from the broader social, democratic, and human consequences that cybersecurity threats at this scale produce. Bruce Schneier called it a reactive approach, warning that our current security paradigm is ill-equipped for models that can automate vulnerability discovery at scale, and multiple governance analysts flagged that the US's own Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, the government body actually mandated to protect national infrastructure, was not given access to Mythos at all. For those of us who work in marketing and communications, there is something instructive here. When the story is good enough, scrutiny arrives late. Anthropic's Glasswing narrative was compelling precisely because it reframed a product risk as a product mission. The model was positioned not as a tool we cannot safely release, but as a tool we are deploying responsibly to protect everyone. That framing is a masterclass in positioning, and it bought time. Insight-driven governance would have looked different. It would have begun with a broader stakeholder map. It would have included CISA, the EU's ENISA, the UAE Cybersecurity Council, and the cybersecurity agencies of the Global South, countries that have no representation in Project Glasswing, no usage credits, and no access to a model that can find vulnerabilities in the same operating systems they depend on. The asymmetry of access has become a geopolitical issue as much as a technical one. As modern diplomacy has noted, when a leading lab decides a model is too sensitive for general release, the question is no longer about norms, it is about control. The deeper lesson for organizations watching this unfold is this: the gap between marketing and governance is closing fast. Stakeholders are increasingly sophisticated. Journalists are beginning to push past the press release. Regulators are moving from reactive to anticipatory. What passed as responsible AI messaging in 2024 is being tested against harder criteria in 2026. The organizations that navigate this best will not be those with the sharpest crisis communications teams. They will be the ones that build genuine insight loops into their governance processes, who ask not just how will this land, but what do we not yet know about who this affects and how. Marketing insight, properly applied to governance, is not spin. It is a form of due diligence. And right now, at the frontier of AI capability, the cost of skipping it is becoming very clear: the signal. Over 99% of the vulnerabilities Mythos identified remained unpatched at the time unauthorized users gained access to the model. TechCrunch and Bloomberg reporting, April 2026. The question: if your organization were to build something too powerful to release publicly, who would you consult and who would you quietly leave out of the room? This has been Common Ground, a weekly newsletter by Jonathan Hirasawa Ashton. If this was shared with you, subscribe on LinkedIn to receive it directly.